Hello, everybody. Welcome. We're going to get started in a minute. I just wanted to give a little treat to everyone coming in. I don't know if you can hear the music from my phone to here, but do you see on that mountain all the way out there where I'm pointing? There's a mountain all the way out there. Well, where I'm standing here, I can hear music. In Israel today, there's a rule, just like they have a lot of rules all over the world today because of the sickness that's going around. They have a rule that you can't have more than 10 people in one place. But what happens if you're supposed to get married and you have all these people that want to come? So what do? You can't have all the people because you're only allowed to have 10 people. So there's a boy who lives in our town who's getting married today. He's actually getting married right now. And he was supposed to have a beautiful wedding in a nice hall, just like a regular wedding. But now he couldn't. So he's having his wedding right now on the top of that mountain. And the music from the wedding and all the brachot that they say on the microphone, I can hear from over here. So I thought I'd share that with you before we started. Okay, let's get started today with our story. I have a great story for you. And I'm hoping you're just going to absolutely love it because I love this story. It's one of my favorite stories. So I'm hoping that you will absolutely love this story. So first, I want to tell you, I'm standing in a place called Mitzpeh Yericho, and that's in Israel. Mitzpeh Yericho is in Israel. And if you look at the mountains all the way far away, that's a country called Jordan. And if you keep on walking past Jordan, which is really far, it would take you about 2 or 3 days, you'd get to another country called Iraq. And that country used to be called, about 2,000 years ago, when our story takes place, used to be called Bavel. And the people that went from Bavel and they moved to Eretz Yisrael, they didn't come by an airplane, they walked on the mountains. As crazy as that is, can you imagine that? They walked all the way. It took them probably about a couple weeks until they got here. But that's what they did. They would walk on the mountains all the way over through the desert, all the way until they got into Eretz Yisrael, and a lot of them came right here. The first time the Jews would come into Eretz Yisrael, they'd come right over there. And that's the story of somebody who we all know his name, Hillel HaZaken. A lot of times, we just call him Hillel, but this is the story of Hillel. And Hillel moved to Eretz Yisrael, to where I am, all the way from there, from Bavel, far away. A couple days, he came to Eretz Yisrael. And the reason why he came to Eretz Yisrael, there's a lot of reasons to come to Eretz Yisrael. Some people come to Eretz Yisrael because it's Israel. It's the place where the Jews live and Jews are, and it's their home. And some people come to Israel because they like shawarma. Some people like the pizza. Some people like that you can get kosher McDonald's here. Everybody has different reasons why they come to Eretz Yisrael. But Hillel HaZaken came to Eretz Yisrael to learn Torah. And Hillel was a very special person, a really special person. And what made him so special was that he was something called an anav. An anav, that's a Hebrew word, which means he was humble. Which means that he didn't think he was the greatest person. He thought he's okay. He's an okay person. Now really, Hillel was the greatest person. He knew so much Torah, and everybody went to him with questions, and they came to learn Torah from him, but he didn't think of himself as so great. And there was somebody else, a good friend of his, who learned Torah, not with him, like they didn't learn together, but they learned at the same time, and they both had lots and lots of students, and his name was Shammai. And they both had big schools where people learned Torah in, and they didn't agree on so many different things they argued about, but not in a bad way, in a good way. You know, sometimes we have, like, somebody likes chocolate ice cream, somebody likes vanilla ice cream. They're not really arguing. They're not in a fight. They just disagree. They had a disagreement, and they both treated each other with great kavod, with great respect, but they always disagreed. But Hillel, when Hillel would teach, Hillel was such an anav. He was so modest. He was so humble. He thought so low of himself that when he used to teach Torah, the first thing he would do is first he would get up and he would say, this is what my friend Shammai thinks. And he would say Shammai's opinion first. And then, let me tell you why I think a little differently. And this is why I disagree. But the first thing he did was he always quoted Shammai's opinion first. And that's why he was so humble. Everybody knew that he was an Anav. You know who else was an Anav? Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu also was an Anav. Moshe Rabbeinu also was very, very modest. And Moshe Rabbeinu was called Anav Ma'od because he was the most modest of all the people that ever lived. And people used to say about Hillel, when they would see Hillel, they would say, Hillel's just like Moshe Rabbeinu. He's just like Moshe. And that's why people used to say he was such an Anav. Such an Anav, because he was just like Moshe, who was also such a great Anav. Okay, so that's what we know about Hillel. Now, remember we talked about yesterday, if you weren't with us yesterday, today we're going to talk about a special book. It's a big book. It's actually like 25 books, called the Gemara. And the Gemara is there's a lot of words, and sometimes we study it, and sometimes parents study it. We're all going to study it when we get older. And in the Gemara, it has a lot of discussions, a lot of people discussing things. And it talks about, in one place in the Gemara, it says, there are people who say that they can't study Torah because they're so poor. They're so poor they don't have any money. They don't have enough money to eat. They don't have enough money to have a house, to have a car, and they can't study Torah. So does that person not have to study Torah? Right? Because they don't have so much money. Maybe they can't study Torah. Maybe they don't have enough to study Torah. So the Gemara says, nope. Even if you're poor, you still have to study Torah. And the Gemara says, impossible. Impossible. The person has to go and he has to work so hard. And she has to go out and make so much money. To try to make more money, they have to work harder because they don't have enough money. Or they have to go and ask people for money. And life is so difficult because they don't have enough food. So how could you say they have to learn Torah? Maybe really they don't have to learn Torah. And Gemara says, nope. Even if you're very, very poor, you still have to learn Torah. The Gemara can't believe it. The Gemara can't believe it. We have to be so nice to people that are poor. We have to treat them nicer because they don't feel so well, and sometimes their feelings get hurt. How can we tell them, you have to learn Torah? Seems maybe a little insensitive, like we're not so careful about their feelings. So the Gemara says, nope, even if you're poor, you have to learn Torah. So the Gemara says, what happens if a poor person comes up and he says to Hashem, Hashem, I couldn't learn Torah my whole life. I was so poor. What can I do? And Gemara says, you know what Hashem's going to tell him? Hashem's going to say, look at Hillel Hazaki. Remember we were telling a story about Hillel, and Hillel was so humble, and he looked at himself as so low, but he was such a great teacher. Hillel, when he lived, he was probably the greatest Talmid Chacham. He was probably the greatest rabbi, the greatest Rav, the greatest person that knew Torah that lived during his time. And Hillel also, something we didn't say yet, here's the new news, Hillel was very, very poor. In fact, Hillel had no money. He had no money. He didn't have any money. And I don't mean he had only $10 or 15 shkalim, he had no money. No money. So if you say, wait a minute, if he had no money, how did he live? So every day Hillel would go out and he would hold a sign, or he would go over to people and he would say, can I do some work for you? And if I do some work for you, could you give me a little money? And that's what Hillel did every single day. And if Hillel got hired to do something that day and somebody would pay him, then he would have money. And if he didn't get hired, then he wouldn't have any money that day, and maybe he even wouldn't have anything to eat that day. That's how poor Hillel was. But Hillel was still a big Talmid Chacham. Don't you feel bad for Hillel that he had? So that's what he had. He didn't really have any money. So every day though, Hillel would try to learn Torah in the yeshiva after he finished working. And this is why Hillel wanted to learn Torah so much. Hillel knew that the most important mitzvah is not listening to the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, It's not lighting the candles on Friday night for Shabbat. It's not Kiddush for Shabbat. It's not even eating cholent on Shabbat. The most important mitzvah that there is in the whole Torah is studying Torah. And that's why Hillel wanted to study Torah, because he knew it was so important. But he also loved studying Torah. He loved it. It gave him what we call a geschmack. He loved it. It tasted so good. It was so good. It made him feel so good. He loved learning Torah. He loved studying Torah, because studying Torah makes you so happy, and it made him so happy. But not only that, Hillel had two teachers who he loved to study Torah with. Absolutely, absolutely loved to study Torah with them. And their names were Shemaiah and Avtalion. Strange names. We don't find people today named Shemaiah and Avtalion. Do any of you have friends named Shemaiah and Avtalion? I could almost see everybody saying, nope, I have no friends named Shemaiah and Avtalion, right? We don't. But his teachers were Shemaiah and Avtalion. And not only would Hillel sit and listen to their Torah classes and go to their shiurim and hear them teach Torah, but Hillel would get them a cup of water. Hillel would clean their seat. Hillel absolutely loved learning Torah with Shemaiah and Avtalion, and he would help them. Whatever they needed, he would help. And when somebody came to ask Shemaiah and Avtalion a question, Hillel would listen in. He was allowed to. He wasn't doing anything wrong. Shemaiah and Avtalion would tell him, come listen, and the person asking the question wouldn't be embarrassed. And Hillel would see how Shemaiah and Avtalion answered the question. And he loved it. It gave him so much joy to see how his Rebbeim, Shemaiah and Avtalion, would answer the questions. And that's called being Mishamesh Arav. So every day Hillel would wake up and he'd say, I can't wait to study Torah. I'm going to go get some work done. And then I'm going to run to the Beit Midrash to where we study Torah. And I'm going to learn Torah there. And he would go and he would try to get a job. And every day he would get a tropek. Now, here's where our story gets a little sad. To get into the Beit Midrash, you had to pay every single day a half a tropek. What's a tropek? Well, today in Israel we have shkalim. In America we have dollars. In England we have the pound. Every place has its own coin, its own money. Okay? And back then, the money was called a tropek. And every day, to get into the Beit Midrash, everybody had to give the guard half a tropek. Half a tropek you'd have to give the guard. The guard would take your half a tropek, and you'd open the door and come right in. So every day Hillel would go to work, and the people that paid him one tropek. Half a tropek he would use to buy himself some food for that day, and half the tropek he would give to the guard to let him into the Beit Midrash. Well, one day, here in Eretz Yisrael, this is where the story takes place, in Eretz Yisrael. It was the middle of the winter, in the month of Tevet, where it's so cold here. It's so cold. And every couple of years, it snows. Well, one day, it was going to snow. Everybody could feel it. You could feel it in your bones. It was so cold. And it was going to snow. And everybody knew it. And everybody knew, we got to get into our houses. We've got to get the fires going. We've got to make sure we have enough firewood and everything. And nobody was going to leave their houses. So Hillel couldn't find anyone to work for. He couldn't find anyone to work for. There was no one for him to work for. So he was looking around. And now he's not going to have any money. Okay, so he won't have any money to eat. He wasn't so worried about. But he needed the half a tropek to go study Torah with his Rebbeim, Shemaiah and Avtalion. And he went around looking, and he couldn't find any work that day. So he didn't have the money. He didn't know what to do. But he so wanted to learn Torah. So wanted to learn Torah with Shemaiah and Avtalion, his Rebbeim. So badly. So he had an idea. Now don't ever try this, because this is not safe. And what Hillel did, no kid should do. And Hillel was already an adult, so he wasn't a kid. But Hillel knew that there was a window on top of the roof of the Beit Midrash. And if he climbed up on the roof and he put his ear to the window, he'd be able to hear Shemaiah and Avtalion teaching Torah. Now this was very dangerous, and nobody should ever do this. But this was his idea. And that's what he did. He didn't have his half a tropek to get into the Beit Midrash, but he could listen in from the window on the top. So he climbed up on the window. Now it was very cold because it was about to snow. And it was so cold, and you can imagine Hillel sitting on the roof, shivering, so cold, and he put his ear to the window to listen in. And that's how he learned. But then eventually it got so cold, Hillel fell asleep, and then it started to snow. And it snowed, and it snowed. Now let me tell you how much it snowed that night. This, from your elbow, everybody pick up your arm like this. From your elbow to the top of your hand, right here, everybody sees this? This amount of space right here, this distance, is called an amma. An amma. Okay, this is 1 amma here on my arm. Is everybody doing this? I hope you're doing this at home. I hope you're checking to see. 1 amma. It snowed 3 amot. 1, 2, 3. You can't even see it. It's that much. 3 amot. Like this much it snowed. And it fell all onto Hillel as he slept. And it was like a blanket. It covered him completely. It's a good thing he could breathe. This is why this is not a good idea. The next morning, Shemaiah and Avtalion came to the Beit Midrash, and it happened to be Shabbat. It was Shabbat morning. And they came to the Beit Midrash, and they walked into the Beit Midrash, and they looked up, and usually the window gave a lot of light. There was a lot of light. The sun would shine through the window. And they look up, and it's dark in the window. So it doesn't make any sense. They said it must be all the snow. So let's go up on the roof and clear off the snow. So they climb up on the roof. You can just imagine what they're about to find. We all know. They didn't know. So they get up on the roof, and they probably didn't have shovels like we have today, but they had something, and they're brushing off this. It's a lot of snow. It's like this much snow. And they're brushing it up, and all of a sudden, they hit something. It doesn't go any further. Hit it again. Doesn't go any further. And they brush off all the snow, and lying there is Hillel. And he's shivering, and he's freezing, and he's all blue, and he's not safe. So they quickly bring him down. And they bring him into the Beit Midrash. And he's really, this is really dangerous. He's so sick. It's really, really, really dangerous. And he's shivering and shivering and shivering and shivering. And at that point, they said, whoa, we've got to put warm water over him so that he gets warm. So they take warm water. They already had warm water because remember, it's Shabbat. And they wouldn't be allowed to make warm water for him if it was Shabbat. And they're putting warm water. And at that point, Shemaiah and Avtalion realize that he was so sick and it was so dangerous. And they turned to each other and they said, you know what? If we didn't have hot water, it would be allowed to warm up water on Shabbat, break Shabbat for Hillel, because he's so cold, it's so dangerous, we'd be allowed to warm up water to save his life on Shabbat. Because if somebody's life is in danger on Shabbat, not only are we allowed to, we have to break Shabbat to save their life. And we don't ask somebody like a little kid to do it. We get the rabbi to do it because it's so important. Saving a life is so much more important than Shabbat. So we break Shabbat to do it. So Shemaiah and Avtalion say, Hillel is so sick, it's so dangerous that we would even break Shabbat in this case for him. Because look how sick he is from sitting on the roof. Now, Hillel, thank God, was okay. Nothing happened to him. He was perfectly okay. He warmed up. He got better. And everything was okay. Whew. Baruch Hashem. And Hillel continued every day to bring his half a tropek to the Beit Midrash, and he continued to study Torah with Shemaiah and Avtalion. Now he became so smart, and he knew so much Torah. And not only did he know Torah, but he began to teach Torah. And not only did he begin to teach Torah, but people started asking him questions like they asked Shemaiah and Avtalion. And Hillel would teach them Torah. And people started coming to listen to Hillel's classes and his shiurim. And more people came. And there was a position, there was a job that you could have at that time, called the Nasi, the president. You were the president of the Jewish people. And Hillel was such an important person, and he knew so much Torah, and everybody respected him and loved him so much that the people made Hillel the Nasi. And one day there were these people. They were called the Bnei B'Tera, and they came to Hillel, and they said, Hillel, we don't understand something. If you remember way at the beginning of the story, we talked about how people came from Bavel, and they came all the way out there as Bavel, and they came here to Eretz Yisrael. And when they came here to Eretz Yisrael, those people from Bavel usually didn't know as much Torah as the people that lived in Eretz Yisrael because they started studying later. So usually those people weren't the people that became the great Torah teachers. They didn't become the great rabbis. Other people that lived in Eretz Yisrael and that were born in Eretz Yisrael did. And the Bnei B'Tera who were born here, they once came to Hillel and they said, Hillel, how come you got to be the Nasi? Why did you're all the way from Bavel. How did you come here and become the Nasi? You're not from Eretz Yisrael. And Hillel said, I'll tell you why. All of us used to go to the Beit Midrash. And you used to go to the Beit Midrash. You started way younger than me because you were born here. But when I came to the Beit Midrash and you came to the Beit Midrash, you came and you sat down and maybe you took out your Torah books and you took out a notebook to take notes, and maybe you did all of that, and I did also, but I also became very close to our teacher, Shemaiah Ve'avtayon. It wasn't enough for me just to listen to them. I wanted to be close to them. I wanted to listen and serve Shemaiah Ve'avtayon. If I saw that they were getting just a little thirsty, even before they said anything, I would run and get them a cup of water. When they walked home, I would walk home with them. And every day I would ask them questions. And when people came to ask them questions, I would listen so that I could learn even more Torah and see how they answered questions. And because I did that, because I took the extra step and I did more than everybody, that's why, even though I was born in Bavel, that's why I became the Nasi. That's why I became this Torah scholar and the leader of the Jewish people in my time. Now, let me tell you something. Today, a lot of us are like Hillel. We can't go to school. They won't let us in. And that's a good thing. Because in order for us to stay healthy, we have to stay home. So a lot of us are at home. And it's very strange. It's not Purim anymore. It's not Hanukkah. It's not Pesach yet. It's not summer vacation. But we're not going to school. Sometimes we learn Torah like this over the computer. Maybe some of our teachers are teaching us, or maybe they're sending some work for us to do, or different things, but it's not the same. And really, although sometimes maybe we don't want to go to school, really we do like going to school. And really deep down, we might not want to tell anybody, but really we like going to school every day. Get to see our friends, and we like our teachers like Hillel liked Shemaiah Ve'avtayon, because we know our teachers care about us, and we like to be in school. But just like Hillel, we couldn't go to school. But that's why it's so important for us to be just like Hillel. We have to grab every opportunity we can learn Torah. And that's why it's so good that you're listening now. Because you came right now and you're learning Torah with me, even though you don't have to, even though you're not going to get a grade, you're not going to get any nikudot, you're not going to get anything for this, but you came to learn Torah just like Hillel. Even though they won't let you in the school, you're still learning Torah. And that's so important during this time when we can't go to school, that we keep on learning Torah. Every chance we get, whenever we see somebody that knows some Torah, we should say to them, hey, teach me some Torah just for a minute. Give me just a little bit of Torah to know, something I didn't know before. Teach me some Torah. And then we can be just like Hillel. Thank you guys so much for coming and listening to my story and listening to the Torah that I taught. And I hope that you'll come back tomorrow and we could study again tomorrow with another great story. Shalom to all.